But speaking of sounds, of course, there's one way the way we have to start this show. I hope that picks up. Hey, what's up? We didn't get an intro. I think that's something else. We should have.
Don't we have an intro?
I don't know if Graham uses it, but anyway, we'll figure that out later. But
we have a very special guest.
yeah, Phil Mike here, film historian and
film historian, film buff,
archivist,
local comic,
Yeah.
friend of the pod,
Friend of the
Phil
pod.
Mike.
So Phil, we start every show with a Taylor Swift song, and we're doing West Side Story today. And some people might wonder, has Taylor Swift sang a song from West Side Story? Well, guess what? In a 2009 promo for the MTV Music Video Awards, she did. So.
Wow.
Yeah, she does everything. They changed the words a little bit.
Yeah, I picked up on that.
She should have been at the movie, right?
Yeah. Doesn't even really sound like her.
It's from 2009.
Yeah. When she was still like trying.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our opening song. I don't know if you remember in the 2009 VMAs, it was infamous. That's the one when Kanye interrupted her.
Really?
When he
Oh,
was
right.
like, hold on, I'll let you finish. But anyway.
Wow, that's
yeah.
historic.
So it wasn't quite, it was a song. They changed the words. Actually, I read that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote those words. So it's
Right.
everything comes full circle, dude.
Right.
Yeah, he's behind everything. It seems.
Yeah, Kanye is in it. And okay, so we do that, and then we show an ass pic from like a cartoon. But because you're here, I chose a very special ass pic.
Okay, this
Is
is
if you look here, I have a Google Drive full of instant romantic ass pics that I have created. But yeah, a special one because I know you're such a fan of the Beatles. So
wow, yeah.
if I can click it.
Yeah. John, are you guys
It's
able to
John
like, pop
Lennon.
that up there?
Yeah.
Where John Lennon has the biggest butt crack in the world?
You can send it to Graham.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like a
literally- yeah,
peach
if
or
you-
something.
Have you seen this ass pic? It's the most infamous ass duo. No other two asses. have been
Greatest discrepancy in butt cracks in one couple.
He's got like a huge looking ass,
It's
and
awful.
she barely got an ass.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's anyway.
like a
That's
cassette tape, just like that, like a little tiny
yeah.
one.
So I've kept this picture on this drive for.
I hope your
Like-
computer doesn't get seized because
Yeah,
they're gonna have some
yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
It's these
There's a
pictures.
lot of poetry and a lot of aspects.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was our first one. This is the most famous.
Mhm.
You
Well,
we
no
all-
one can see
we
it, so
all-
that's
we all
okay.
remember.
Okay.
Oh,
Ms.
yeah,
Potts.
Mrs. Potts.
Ms. Potts started this tradition.
Yep.
It's anyway. So that's really all. That's how we open this show.
How many views does a Taylor Swift opening have? Like
sure.
70?
36,000.
I feel like that's kind of low for her.
Yeah.
It's because this
And
wasn't
also,
like,
so many more people were on like YouTube. I feel like.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's been up since 2009.
Yeah,
so-
but I feel like so many more people were on YouTube like in 2009, right?
well, yeah, there was only like 400 videos on YouTube at the time, so like they had to watch like what was available.
Oh, see, and this person said every song that Taylor Swift sings is always better version of the song than the original version.
Yeah, can you say her name? What's her name? Monica.
Monica Jordan Rivera Claredon. Oh, yeah. So, sounds correct, right? Everything is better. Anyhow, okay, guys. If you haven't guessed it by now by the snapping or the Taylor Swift rendition of Tonight, we're doing West Side Story today, guys. West Side for life, right? Motherfucker, right? You know. Anyway, so West Side Story, and we know that there's two versions of the movie. The one that came out 50 years ago, the one that came out this past fall. Well, we watched both, so now we can compare the two and, figure out which one's more romantic, which one's better, which one do we like more? Why is it always the older one, right? 'Cause,
What did they do right? What did they do wrong?
yeah.
Bill, what's your relationship to West Side Story?
I think my relationship is that it's one of those things where like everyone has always like said it. Like I actually don't think I ever watched it in full until a couple years ago during the pandemic. But it's one of those things where everyone's heard of it, and like you've heard like Sharks and the Jets and like stuff like that. And there was like that Gap commercial that like referenced like when they're in the
forget
and
that.
then SNL did a parody of the Gap commercial, and like. I Feel Pretty was in anger management and like all this type of stuff.
True, yeah. Oh yeah.
So-
I remember that commercial now. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
So long story short, like I feel like I've always had a relationship with everyone has. And so then when you actually see it and then, you actually appreciate like not only are these references all in there, but like, oh, this is actually genuinely really good. And it's 50 years old. And the themes they touch on are as relevant today as they were then. You're like, damn, this thing is incredible. It's timeless. Yeah, racism and
social issues.
You know?
And love.
And love.
That's why I feel the most important one, love.
Yeah. It's a piece of art with a troubled history.
Yeah,
but,
I guess that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember I was the one who told you about the new one. Because you were talking about it. I was like, oh, they're making a new one. And you were sounding so disappointed when I broke the news. You're like, no, they can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's like repainting the Mona Lisa. You're like, what do we need to do here? But I will say it was really good. And, I guess, they casted it the right way. There was no brown face in there. So that's a positive.
That's good. There weren't a lot of like Puerto Ricans though.
Yeah,
No.
in it, which was kind of a real,
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, it was a swing and a miss. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like, it begs the question, like, how specific do you like have to get? But it's also like,
it's about Puerto Rican.
It's about Puerto Ricans,
like,
and I think considering it's a very West Side Story is it's very sensitive for Puerto Ricans because a lot of people, like the original had like brown face. There was only one person in it who was actually Puerto Rican, and so it's like pretty sensitive for people. So I thought that was kind of a miss there.
They did do a lot more research and stuff. I mean, I know they didn't cast but they did put some effort.
I say they did they did a good job doing like the baseline.
Yeah,
probably they had experts making sure the accents were right.
Yeah,
and
they didn't subtitle the Spanish.
Yeah.
So whatever they said in those scenes, I still don't know.
That's for you. That's for you.
I don't know exactly what was going on. I had to go back to the original and think, okay, yeah, this is. But anyway, I don't really have any relationship with the movie. Right? Yeah, I'm some guy who watched it, but it was good. So.
Well, and I will say this: the fact that Bernardo in the first one was played by a Greek actor,
that
is actually
extra for film.
That is actually something that I feel like my parents have referenced throughout the years, and I just didn't quite understand what it was. And then to have a Greek guy be that guy, I was like, all right, that works. That's huge. That's huge for my people.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Greeks did
big movie for Greeks.
Greeks did a lot of roles like that. Puerto Ricans, Native Americans, when they needed brown-looking people. They're like Greeks, Italians, they can do it. But do you have any relationship to the film?
Well, my family is Puerto Rican.
Oh, okay. I think
so
we knew that. Okay,
my grandfather's Puerto Rican. Right. My dad really loves the original.
You told me
we went to see it together.
You told me your grandparents were the opposite.
Yeah. They were a West Side Story. Yeah, they were an interracial couple. Yeah, in Brooklyn. So my grandma was white and my grandpa was Puerto Rican.
Other people know you're Puerto Rican. When you said that, I was like, oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were some white lady.
Yeah, no, but like, it was like a very, just the like being, an interracial couple and, they had 6 kids, and it was always a huge concern of like my grandfather's of like, there's a lot of, like generational trauma and stuff, not wanting like, so it was very like, didn't really want the kids to like draw upon like, didn't want them to identify with the culture and stuff. But yeah, my dad loves West Side Story, so we went to see the new one together,
That's cool.
which was really fun.
Nice.
And he really liked it.
You like it more than the original one? Did he say?
I think he kind of just was like, he kind of like just like viewed them as separate like
That's fair.
entities.
That's a good
But
way
my
to
high
do it.
school did a West Side Story, and he still like talks about it. Like,
Were you in it?
What? No, I was.
Oh.
It was my freshman year, so I wasn't
okay.
in it. But
He
yeah,
was like, that was so good production. Like, it
No,
was,
he
high,
still,
it was
like,
high school, but I
he
get
still
it.
talks about like the guy who played Doc and
Oh,
like how good he was.
Do you know where Doc is now? Does your dad follow him?
We actually ran into him a couple of years ago.
nice.
My dad was like, "Hey, West
Doc.
Side Story." He was
Doc,
like, "What?"
right? It's like, I was 17.
I was like, "Dad, stop. Let's get you home."
Yeah, Dad, you're sick. We got your medication, Dad. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like, let's go home.
Okay.
But I think that like viewing the movie, the original, through the lens of the fact that this is like released during like the civil rights movement, and it's like within the decade it's released as like integration and stuff like that. So I mean, if you like watch the current one, so I watched the new one and then I watched the old one.
Okay.
And so that was how. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, this was definitely like made a lot more palatable for like a white audience.
Yeah.
They've like toned down.
The original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the original.
Yeah. Because in the new one, from the beginning, they kind of emphasize, like, no, the Jets are like actually racist. Like from the very start, they're harassing Puerto Rican shop owners and they're defacing the Puerto Rican flags. So right from the start, like, no, these guys legitimately like hate them because they're Puerto Rican.
Yeah, and Tony got out of jail for beating up a Puerto Rican.
Yeah. It was definitely like much more. I feel like the way they set up the new one, because they added the song that's like the Puerto Rican national anthem, and so that's like the first thing you hear after the prologue, and you're like you said, like there's like this violence, and it's like very clear like what the Jets are doing and stuff. So
what they're about. You know what they're about.
Yeah, it was like much harder I found it much harder to sympathize with Maria's choices.
Oh yeah.
in the like
I think we
in the new one.
we all agree here. The new Tony sucks. That's the first thing Phil told me, right?
Yeah.
I when I was watching him do Something's Coming, when he's in the shop or whatever, I almost was like confused as to like what he was doing, because I was like you're like he's like a trained actor. But I almost thought it was like, I mean, I knew it wasn't a parody, but I just thought it was like so insane, the decisions he was making, where he was like overacting and like all this kind of stuff. I thought his charisma and awkwardness he had no charisma, and his awkwardness was weird. And like, they didn't really make him like very romantic, to be honest, but the original Tony was clearly better.
Yeah,
he was a
I
man.
really agree with you. I think it was a missed opportunity not to get someone from Broadway to play Tony, because he just like didn't seem to be able to adjust to like, okay, well now you're in a musical.
Yeah.
And
I think Probably it might be his first musical. I don't know.
I think it might
Yeah,
have
yeah.
been. I didn't look that up.
Yeah,
but
I don't think he has much.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think he's done much on.
Yeah, I think his resume is kind of thin.
His Baby Driver was his like.
Yeah. No, he was in
and
Fault in Our Stars and Baby Driver. There's is too big.
The point is, he does his best when he doesn't talk. Like in Baby
Yes.
Driver, he was like
deaf.
cool.
Well, we can't say he doesn't really have music experience because he is a DJ. So, he's got some music experience.
I did listen to the soundtrack for the new one, and his voice is like fine. It's totally
it's
fine.
not bad.
His creepiness, though, is what I find.
Hey, also related, he's been accused of sexual assault. So, that plays in too, yeah.
Well, that makes me think about, like, okay, they had the Behind the Bleachers scene, which I guess is sort of like I don't know what the play was like. I've never seen the play, but like it sort of harkens back to like the bleachers being like a thing or whatever, you know.
But the bleachers.
Yeah, but like having him be behind the bleachers, like with his history, maybe like doesn't send the right message.
Yeah.
You know, like I wasn't sure like how like transparent some of this stuff was, and then also sort of going back with like the ratcheted up racism. Did they add that in, or was that always in that they kind of watered down for the 61 version?
I think they watered it down because the original is like pretty. They're like things they like they changed in the they're like things from the stage that they changed. So the new one more closely follows the staged one. But yeah, I mean there's also like kind of in the stage version, there's like some stuff that a lot of companies will change in the original because there's some stuff like talking about Puerto Rico in a really like derogatory manner that usually gets like cut out and stuff, but like that was like the original like stage version. So yeah, it is kind of fucked up like when you look at it through that lens and you think about like, oh, who wrote this, you know, four white guys. So they're like lyrics about how Puerto Rico is like basically a dump and like all this.
Shithole country, right?
That wasn't Trump. That was okay.
Trump got that from West Side Story.
That was his.
But going to the bleacher scene, that they go there because that's when Tony and Maria first see each other. And in the original, you realize they see each other, they blur out everyone. But this new one, it's just like they are the only two people not dancing once they're completely still. Like I am looking at Lydia right now, and it's like so obvious they're looking at each. Yeah, so you two are dancing. It's like kind of weird almost. It's so but yeah, it's at the same time that's just going on in their heads. The whole world keeps turning, like, not yours.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like it was, I mean, obviously, like, you know what's going to happen, but I definitely felt like if sort of like tit for tat, I feel like the original did it a little better where you kind of could see through the fog opposed to just like, Tony looks, to me, it looked like a loser standing on the sidelines. Like everybody else is dancing in these like flamboyant dresses and doing all these crazy things. And he's just sort of like creeping in the back. I think in the original, he like comes in and then like it happens much more quickly opposed to him just sort of being like a goose above the crowd, you know, like looking around. He has this like weird like swivel motion on his head. I don't know, like a pigeon or something.
It took me a while to realize like he was Tony, like when he came on, even though I know the choreography. And then I was like, oh, because I kind of went into it kind of cold. Like I hadn't researched it. I didn't really know who they got. I only knew of like that Rita Moreno was like gonna be in it. And then I was like, oh, he's Tony. And I was like, oh, like, all right, like maybe you should have considered getting like more of a heartthrob.
Right,
like,
I'm gonna have to really commit to this idea here.
I was like, hope you're good. Hope you're good.
It's a stretch, but
yeah. Big fan of Riff though.
I think we're all big Riff fans.
My dad texted me actually, and he was like, "It's a travesty he wasn't nominated for an Academy Award."
Yeah. He's probably the best male supporting actor in this.
And he's from Broadway.
Yeah.
So I feel like
he has credentials. He did that correct.
Yeah, and even though he like picked up like the accent, it fits, even though it's like kind of a corny accent, everyone does the thing. Like it fit. I thought it fit perfectly. I thought he was the best guy in it. And I think what he was able to do that like some of the actors weren't is like capture like the heart of the role. And like that's why I feel like a lot of the movie did for sure. Like that's why I feel like they are similar or they're different, but they're both very good. But like he definitely like it made it feel like I was watching the current riff opposed to like whatever Tony the fucking guy was.
And you also don't like each other. You don't like Bernardo, right? You really have something against.
I mean, I definitely have a bias because he wasn't Greek, but
strike one.
Yeah, I mean, they really kind of betrayed.
I'm pretty sure he also wasn't Puerto Rican.
I think he was Cuban.
He's Cuban.
He's Cuban,
and I think he is like a Tony-winning actor, which like he definitely was good. And I just think that role. He took on a different like interpretation of the role, whereas Riff I felt like was like picked up right where the other Riff was and made it his own. Because honestly, this Riff kind of looks like Weasley and like kind of skinny and weird,
Yeah.
Oh, he was Billy Elliot. I didn't realize he was Billy Elliot.
Yeah, I think he won I think he won for something like that.
Yeah, I know he won a Tony when he was like 15 for Billy Elliot.
Oh, I saw that on Broadway.
Did you
my
really?
Senior New York trip.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's just sad. I know. Yeah, it's my second time seeing it.
Yeah, I just felt like he was different and like he had more of like a rough persona. Like he wasn't like as charismatic, which I felt like made the whole Sharks more endearing because it was just like in the original. Because you actually saw more of their personality and more of their like color and flavor and stuff. In the new one, he was kind of more like domineering and kind of like protective, and I totally understand that totally fits. But when you compare the two, I think his charisma was kind of like flat. Like he was kind of like a one-note guy. Even though he was good, he like looked great, like he danced like well. Although I did find a mistake in his one of his dance moves in America. He tries to catch Anita, and he like has to go twice because she isn't there yet. I felt like he was good. I saw people like fawning over him. And like when he does die, you're like, oh shit, it sucks. Like the story is so good where you're like. Yeah, all of these characters and motivations make sense, but like to me, I just thought in the original, the charisma, he was just like oozing, and he was like,
it's like
fun and light and nimble,
and like you'd be a guy I'd be scared to talk to.
Yeah,
the old one's like, it's Bernardo, right?
Yeah, because Bernardo's usually like the best dancer in the cast.
Yeah, and he like when you first show up in the prologue, right? In the original. Bernardo like puts his hand on the wall and it's like that red thing and you see it close up on his face and it's like that's his big introduction. Bernardo doesn't get introduced until he's in the new one until he's about to fight Riff. Yeah. And so then they're about to fight and like there isn't that like chase and kind of like cat and dog where they both have the upper hands. And so for that reason, I kind of think that in this one, they kind of portray the Jets as like the dominant one, which of course like they're white and like all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But like the Puerto Ricans in this one, I felt like you didn't have their personalities come up as much from top to bottom, except for like Anita and Maria and like some of the girls.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
It's really hard with movies now just because like I feel like with Spielberg it's just like it's almost like they have too much like money and so like they just don't know
just cranking it up
how to like focus on things and so it's like they have all these like gorgeous exterior shots and everything but it's like when you're doing all of that you're kind of like missing the character development and when you have less you have to like work on that more.
Absolutely. That's honestly I think what makes the first one charming because there's some things where it's like when they sing America on like the rooftop when it's like a sound stage and like wherever you can't do anything else other than focus on them. And that if there was one thing I had sort of planned coming into if you watch America in the first one and in the second one, to me that is the exact like difference in the two movies.
Okay.
One is a lot more vibrant and like colorful, and it's got all these like beautiful sets and I actually like the dancing better in the first one, but like the color and the costumes and like everything's bright and shiny, and they transition all these beautiful things. But in the original, you focus on the characters and like their faces and what their dances mean and all that type of stuff.
It's like it's smaller, main focus, a lot brighter. I think,
Which is like kind of the like importance of like something on stage, right?
The first one was directed more like it was a stage production, and this one's more like in reality.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of
like in the song America, like when she's going through like all of the like verses, and they're like clever, and that's why I thought like in the original, like when they're bringing up like this like these racial themes, as like 2 years ago when I was really hearing it like for the first time, I was like, oh my God. And like, 2020, we had like all this stuff happening in DC and like across the country. I was like, wow, they were really talking about this stuff back then. And I mean it on terms of like entertainment and like white people were talking about it, not, like obviously like civil rights movement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, I thought like it was really important for the characters to come out of that and like to show both like they were the whole like dynamic between Anita and Bernardo in the original was like, I love being here even though it might kind of suck. And the other guy, Bernardo's like, I love you and I don't, it's not great being here because of all these problems. And then in the new one, the way they portray that was basically just like doing like cut scenes of like all these different examples of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the difference of like showing us and like telling us and then like making us like feel the dynamic between the characters and stuff like that. So
I thought it was like it was more clear in the new one, the fact that like Maria and Bernardo had not been living under the same roof in like years.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's like not clear in the first one. And it's kind of like they don't really, and that's like the tension, right? Is that he's coming back. She feels like he's coming back in and assuming this role that like he hasn't been able to play, not because of his own fault, but because, she was in Puerto Rico and he was in America. And so that tension was more evident for me because I didn't even like realize it in the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. But she still isn't too upset, it seems, when he dies. Yeah. She gotta move on quickly. Let's be honest, like this you killed your brother. I know, baby, you guys don't get along or whatever, but like I don't know, it sounds like a big deal breaker with somebody.
And I didn't realize that, she didn't live with him for a long, or like they just sort of like re-met until the new one. So it started to make sense. But for her, I love the fact like this is like crazy manipulation. Like Anita's singing the song, right? It's like, you boy like that, like you killed your brother, whatever, all this type of stuff. And then she's like so manipulative. She's like, but I love him. And you know what love is like because you love him and I love him, this guy. So it's like the same thing. And like, you wouldn't leave your guy if he killed somebody. So why should I leave my guy if he killed your fucking man? It was like crazy to actually plant your flag. Like if
that's gaslighting.
If that happened with me, I'd probably be like, I don't know if I have a leg to stand
it's
on
some
here.
wild mental gymnastics.
It's also kind of which is aren't you going to dogs for me, right? He sends Anita to dogs. So I guess Maria may not have it might not be the nicest person.
But I will say, and I was talking to Martin a little bit about this, like what benefits like things that were written back then is I just don't think there was like much emotional nuance back then. It was all like and like just like
men were men.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what it's like.
It's like you shut up, woman, and then she's like, I'm so sorry, and like that was emotional discourse at the time.
Because I mean, basically every musical was written by like one of the same four like white dudes.
Roger and Hammerstein.
Yeah.
But
So things seem a little flat. There wasn't a lot of
right. But like back then when you're watching, like, it's charming because they don't know any better and you like rough up their hair or whatever. But nowadays when you watch it, you're like, no, we're better than this. Like there should be like, there's a gray area here that we need to explore. Back then it's like, but I love him. They're like, oh no.
It's like, it's realistically, Maria,
Yeah, it seems so much more like stupid in the new one. I don't know if that's like we're supposed to feel that way or not, because it's like I do like a little like suspension of disbelief in my in my moving pictures, but
yeah. I mean, even like in the original Romeo and Juliet, like she kills herself, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
This at least she doesn't kill herself.
Yeah.
Because like, you guys have hate. This is all hate.
Yeah.
And then they go, I guess we do have issues with hate.
Yeah.
I remember how like West Side Story was pitched to me as a little kid, where it's like, I forget who in my family said that. They were like, it's like Romeo and Juliet. And I was like, oh, I don't like that because she dies. And they're like, not in this one because women are survivors.
Right. And then she has the gun in the end. And she's like, I'll shoot everybody. I don't care
You're
what
all
side.
Yeah. It was interesting in this one because they had Chino not be in the gang. And then in the original, he is. Yeah. Also, the actress who plays Maria is dating him in real life.
Oh, cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. It worked out.
It was weird how in the beginning of the new one, they make him seem like nerdy and like all this type of stuff. And then at the end, his glasses are off. So therefore, it's okay for him to kill somebody. You know, he's like, whoa.
Yeah, they're like,
about now.
I'm like, we need someone to kill someone wearing glasses. Like, that is the representation that we need.
But I do like how they like fleshed out his character more in the new one. I mean, there are definitely a good amount of things that I liked more or that I appreciated. The fact that, the shopkeep had a much stronger role. Yeah. She was Puerto Rican. Yeah. She sang the somewhere.
Yeah, I was fine with them, changing the doc character to her because I was like, well, you have to have Rita Moreno if you're gonna remake West Side Story. Like, find something for
the
her.
original Tony's still alive. He could have been in it.
Dude, a lot of them are still alive, except for
they could have brought in more cameos.
I wonder if some of them wouldn't want to come in as a cameo.
Yeah, Marina was 90 years old, so they're probably.
But she's the only one who's Puerto Rican.
They have a Greek guy coming in. They're like, all right, George.
I feel like the other people would be like, remember when you did brown face?
Yeah. And I was just saying they're really old. Also, they're probably
they're in their late 80s.
Yeah, good time. But also,
for some it. Is the beautiful remembrance. For most, it's a stain upon their career.
I don't. Yeah, we don't talk about that here. I gotta move on from that. And sorry, but now I heard Tony visited the set and enjoyed what he saw. So Tony approved. Anyhow, and Natalie did not visit the set because. She drowned mysteriously 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
So the original Maria drowned mysteriously.
But that was back then, too. It's like she just drowned. Like, that was the cause of death. Just drowning. You know what I'm saying?
They never really investigated it too much. You say you weren't there. Okay, I guess this is weird, right?
Or there was a man more powerful you than there. Like, we won't look into it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You need the power balance to be a different way.
I think that's a whole other podcast when they investigate the death of Natalie Wood. So, we don't have
there are groups of citizen detectives on Facebook that are trying to solve these crimes.
I'm a volunteer policeman. So it's an arrest.
I will say, and I know that, there's all sorts of social movements and stuff happening now, but I will say that both movies, I thought did a really good job. Whether it's just casting or just the way the roles are written, where the women in general just really shine. Yeah. I mean, the fact that in both movies, they're Anita's very good. Yeah. Even Maria isn't as good. I mean, they're both a little crazy in each movie, but I thought the women in general shined a lot. And where you know, you get guys like Tony in the new one and stuff like who kind of like sucks and stuff like that. But I thought it actually like shows like the power of like women in these dynamics. Not as much in the Jets. In the Jets, they're more just like, meet me at the soda shop, you know, and like all that. And then like in the beginning of this one, you see Riff coming out of like the, you know, construction machine thing, and he like kisses the girl, and like she walks away being like,
that one's for fruity.
Yeah.
Come back later.
But outside of that, though, I think genuinely speaking, like the themes of it, if you have like strong women, you have like these social issues on both sides where like, it's funny, like if you're white and in the Jets, your parents are like messed up, and so like you can't think straight.
That's why they're that way.
Yeah, that's why they're that way.
As the song says,
yeah,
as they explain.
And then if you're Puerto Rican, it says like, well, you're just Puerto Rican, so we can't treat you nicely.
It makes sense.
Yeah, but I think all of those themes come out in both movies. But especially like the women shine. Like there's an opportunity for women to shine in it as well. Like
I feel like they weren't writing a lot of good roles, like, you know, like early on for altos too. So like, yes,
alto singers.
Yeah, like Anita.
The women are altos.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what the voice term.
Maria's like a soprano.
Is soprano
and Anita.
deeper?
I'm not sure if the actress is actually.
Soprano is higher.
Yeah.
Alto.
Not like Tony Soprano.
Yeah, Anita. She's probably like a mezzo soprano, but like the role is that's in between. I don't know like what her range is, but the role's written for an alto.
Soprano, I think Tony, you know, it's like, Tony's deep and dark, right? Like it's the opposite.
But yeah, a lot of times like the soprano gets to be like the better character, and the alto is kind of like not. But in this one, I feel like usually the person playing Anita has like more range and stuff. Definitely has like the more exciting songs, I think.
Yeah. And the trans character, that was a big improvement, adjustment they did.
Yeah.
My only issue is like, I don't know, I just don't think they would be so accepting of the trans. I mean, these guys really hate Puerto Ricans. I don't think they're LGBTQ friendly here, you know. I think, you know, it's cool that they did it, you know. That, I mean, it makes sense for the character too, because the character is just like a tomboy, and they're like, you know, part of the gang, you're a girl, and so but this one, you know, he's there. Yeah, but I just don't think they would have been as understanding in the situation. I don't know.
I think they're just like to be trans back then was just like so far ahead of their hate that it couldn't catch up to like, should we hate? Like, I don't like them, but I don't know why, you know?
I don't think they had like the vernacular to describe.
I don't think the term trans was even back then, you know?
I mean, it wasn't mainstream, but I'm pretty certain there were in the 50s there were people. There are certainly people who are like
no. I'm just saying calling someone trans.
Yeah, no, I think that was did exist. Okay. Yeah, it just wasn't like a mainstream thing. But yeah, I mean, there are certainly people living as like like they were.
You don't have to feel like you have to backpedal.
I'm not saying.
No, but I hear what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying if people didn't do it. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. I guess people didn't know the term trans.
It hadn't hit mainstream yet.
Yeah, no.
Hate hadn't caught up.
Were trans. It is. Like you said, people just didn't know.
I would think people who are like living more on the street, like I think it would make sense for them to know what a trans person versus like the mainstream audience, right? Because if they're living on the streets, like they're going to be more exposed to like these like alternative communities or these like groups of people that may not be accepted by.
And of course, the role was written in. So it wasn't like, this is a documentary. What do we do with this person? It's like somebody consciously put in this like tomboy style character. So
it was
based
on someone.
Yeah, exactly.
On some part of the community.
Yeah, but it was cool that they cast an actual non-binary actor.
Yeah.
And
Let me ask this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like in this one, in the new one, they didn't give enough light on the sharks in general? Like, I feel like you didn't, as outside of like Bernardo and Chino, you don't really get to know any of the other characters.
yeah, it seemed kind of like it felt kind of disconnected, and I also thought the Officer Krupke like number felt kind of like out of nowhere, sort of, and that's like such a fun
Yeah.
number in the show. Yeah, and it didn't really do it for me in that, and I felt like maybe it's just because like I haven't really connected to like all of these characters and their like defiance of authority in this moment.
Yeah. Well, I didn't pick up on the fact that, because I wasn't expecting them to sing it where they did, because they moved it,
They
right?
switched up the song order.
And so I actually really like the rendition they did, because to be honest, I just like it when anybody like has like life in the thing, and that rendition they actually showed personality and all that type of stuff. But it did to me seem like a little out of place, where it's like, you guys are on the precinct now because I guess they're asking you about this rumble or whatever, but they just like popped up there. Like in the original, you kind of like knew why they were on the street and like all this type of stuff. So to me, it seemed a little out of place, but I basically just like anything where you can see like expression and feelings or whatever, and they made it their own.
Did you mind the song order being the original? You fine with that?
Yeah, no,
I didn't think it was a big deal.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, even though I like the original better, I actually thought the choices that they made with the new one overall were like, pretty solid. The only one I didn't like was Cool, or Keep It Cool or whatever, where they put it before the fight, because I thought like the whole purpose of the song was like, somebody just died.
That's not fight.
Yeah, and it's also really funny because like you also don't have a good sense of their age, because they all look like they're like 39 because they're like in the 50s, and they could have been 12 years old, but they've been smoking for like 9 of those years.
Yeah, that's very
so
true.
they look like they're coal miners in the Great Depression.
People
You're like
age differently back then.
But it's weird that like, and it's in both movies, like they're this gang, right? But you don't really get a sense that they do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like it's their turf, but like they're like kids, and they're like, when I founded this gang back 2 weeks ago, we were different men back then.
So all in their head. It's like pretend almost. Until someone dies. So
and then someone dies, and I'm like,
I don't want to pretend. I'm done playing, guys. We're done. I'm done playing. And it's like, I gotta go.
And so therefore, like, I felt like the song is more appropriate after the two main characters die.
I will say, I thought Cool was kind of random when I came up. I was like, okay. I thought, I didn't think they would have done that earlier.
And you give it to Elgort or whatever his name. Even his name sounds like a creep. But that to me seemed out of a place, especially because like that rendition in the original is like iconic, because you have like them all dancing and they're all doing like in the garage. And then it's just like they're on this like computer generated deck, that has these like CGI holes.
Was like, it's so much better in the garage.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and it's just two guys fighting, and like half the lyrics were removed.
Yeah,
and it's just like the whole point is like they just witnessed death, and
it's a big deal.
Yeah, but that was the only one. But overall, the choices they made, I felt like, what, let them have it.
You did say, I remember you told me you thought the songs here felt forced, where the original you said we got it more natural. I think I remember you saying something.
Yeah, and I could easily be like really biased, because like the first time I hear the song is when they're like laid out in the original.
Yeah.
But there are some times when it's almost like they walk up to their cue and then they're like
they wait.
I hated that they didn't end on Somewhere.
What do you mean? End the movie on it? Or
yeah. Because that's the
Oh, okay, yeah.
I hate it because that's how it is in the original.
Yeah,
and I didn't love that. I thought the the sexual assault, like the attempted sexual assault, was like a lot more.
Way more graphic.
Graphic.
Really,
Yeah.
you know, because I guess the original, I guess I didn't really pick up that they were gonna assault her, but that's the new one. I remember I was typing her, talking, yeah, they're gonna like assault her. But you guys were like, no, they did that in the original. It's like, it's original.
Well, a lot of times in the stage version, they just like look like they're gonna slap her
Yeah,
or
I think it's
something.
right.
So it's like it's obviously like very toned down. But yeah, I read an article where they interviewed Rita Moreno, and she was saying how like hard the scene was, like being like on the other side, like the Valentina role, and how it'd been like really difficult to film that when she played Anita, like back in the original, and also like due to like she had been like assaulted by like her like agent or manager or something when she was young in Hollywood. And so she, like this article, she was like, yeah, I don't think I ever really got the scene right in like the new one, because I just like it was like too hard. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, that's like the one thing I just like don't ever think I really nailed it, which was interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought a bit harsh on herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I think Natalie Wood also, Maria also had assault in the past before the movie. Hollywood was a terrible place back then. Also, it's always been a bad, terrible place.
Well, I think maybe like the reason why it doesn't come out that like they were trying to rape her in the original was that maybe like I think there's like a lot more like symbolism where it's like if someone's like to a woman, it's like that equals like, you know,
because you could like be that graphic that
in a movie you couldn't off stage whatever you wanted.
I mean, in context of the film,
yeah.
But if that didn't happen to Anita, do you think she still would have done what Maria told her to do, or do you think like no, because Maria sent her there to like
Yeah, I guess she was like willing to walk out. I mean, she was. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's because I don't think Anita was ever actually gonna do what Maria asked, because her, you know, her boyfriend decided.
I will say the first time I watched West Side Story, like I watched it late at night, and I actually did fall asleep. It wasn't due to the quality of the movie, but I remember like kind of like waking up and then being like, yeah, like Gino killed Maria or whatever, and I was like, what did I miss? Like, holy crap! Like everyone's dead now, but yeah, I don't know.
I just don't think she was gonna go through with Maria's plan. Because I don't know. I feel like she, you know, her boyfriend died. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel that's a big deal. I don't know. Maria doesn't think so. But
I didn't sympathize with Maria as much. At all. I was like, you're putting everyone in danger.
Right. You escalated that. You've done enough, like, Maria.
Don't ask Anita to do shit for you.
You gaslights, manipulates.
Yeah, she gaslit and girl bossed her way into like not having a family.
Right.
Yeah, it takes advantage for some guy no one really thinks is worth it.
Right.
You know?
Seriously.
Especially the new Tony who's been to jail and stuff. The old Tony is like, he's a good guy. He just happens to be in a gang, you know?
Yeah, I was like, when I was watching, I was like, I have just a hard time believing that this like beautiful girl would have gone for this guy with like zero charisma at this dance.
This guy.
Even when they meet behind the bleachers, his dance was like weird. Like I know that they do the like arms thing and like knee bend. But it was weird. It was weird. He's a weird dude, and
I think everyone knows that now. He's a weird guy.
Can I ask this? Okay, so which movie do you think had better like dancing? Because I feel like
I don't know.
I'll give you my opinion real quick.
Okay,
think about it.
I feel like you asked that, so we.
I wrote a note. I wrote a note because I don't know how much time we have left.
I mean, I think
a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we've been
the note I had was just in general. Singing and dancing really make an emotional impact because it takes the place of like words and feelings, right?
Yeah.
And so when they are,
Sorry, were all those notes in there about West Side Story?
no, not all of the
Okay,
notes.
I saw Spider-Man.
Yeah, some
I
of
saw
those-
Spider-Man. I was
Oh no! That is about Spider-Man.
Yeah, so
he
that-
crawled up the when he first met Maria, and he crawls up like Spider-Man.
Okay.
I think they did that to be like, he was in a gang, guys. Don't worry, like he's a brawler. He could like crawl up shit.
Yeah, did they in Spider-Man? Did they pay homage to West Side Story by having Spider-Man
Maybe.
talk about the fire escapes and hang like that?
You gotta
right?
ask Stan Lee.
That's something else to think of. Okay, sorry, I just saw Spider-Man.
No, but he did
I
crawl
got
up. Like,
triggered.
I thought that was like a fake way of saying like, don't worry, this dork like
Yeah.
clunky dude is really athletic.
Because it is really hard to believe he was ever in a gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Because
did
then, like,
anything.
I
You
just
know-
don't believe this kid had it in him.
That reminds me when I was like in elementary school, the guys in class who started a gang, right? It was called the Cool Club, and I was like, the guy JD who started the Cool Club, he said I was in it. I would tell people, and nobody believed me. And I was like, no, guys,
You
no,
gotta
guys,
prove it,
no,
kid.
no. JD said I was cool. No, he said I was in the Cool Club, guys. I'm in the club.
yeah.
You're like, and due to this, I really do understand how things escalated in
Yeah.
this manner.
I feel
So
for
you brought a
I
gun.
feel, I was like, okay, guys, what's cool? Check out my dad's pistol.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, now I sympathize
But
with Tony now.
in the Rumble, Tony beats the shit out of Bernardo, right? Isn't that like he beat
Yeah.
like in the new one,
yeah,
right?
he's probably
Yeah,
Brad.
Bernardo's like a boxer from Puerto Rico. Shouldn't he like
Yeah,
be
like,
bad at
yeah.
all? And
Yeah.
he's jacked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way bigger.
I was like, okay, who wrote this? His mom? Did his mom write this for him? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it was really miscast for me.
Yeah, that's what my mom did. I was like, hey, here's my letter from my mom.
Yeah.
I'm in the Cool
They would have
Club.
done better casting Army Hammer, Army Hammer.
Yeah.
Like he still has like
Also-
some background
Oh,
issues.
yeah, both have background
But that's why I
issues.
would have been like, he's kind of clunky,
He's
but like
bigger.
he's at least chiseled.
Yeah, you can.
There are also like so many like white guys who are jacked and can sing like that you
Yeah.
can draw
It's
from.
not really
Yeah.
hard.
If
to
you
find.
want a bigger name, you can find
Hey,
one.
right.
you know what? Ryan Gosling was in La La Land, so if that works.
Yeah.
I love a good Ryan Gosling.
You think he would talk though? He'd just be like, "Hey, Maria."
He's very low. That's why he's fucking cool.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the coolest.
Anyway, going back to the singing part,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Sorry, that was a good tangent though. I feel like
We like tangents.
yeah, no, I just feel like the singing and dancing in the new one was great. Was much
Well done.
the scale was much bigger. The costumes were great, like visually awesome. But I feel like on a sort of communicative level, it didn't communicate the same things that the original did, in the sense that like I feel like in the first one when they brawl or when they do the prologue and they're fighting each other, half of the stuff they were kind of like dancing to with
They
it.
dance fight.
Yeah, they dance
Yeah.
fight. Now,
They dance
obviously,
fight.
they want a more realistic feel. And the
Yeah,
guy who
yeah.
gets hit in the paint can, I don't know, that guy, R.I.P.
That
He is
that
dead.
didn't hurt.
He
Yeah.
got killed on set.
Have you seen Seven Brides for Seven Brothers?
Yeah.
No.
Sorry, it has like the best dance fighting of like any
And-
musical.
And they dance well, like building the log cabin.
Yeah,
too.
it's
They-
like constant dance fighting.
Yeah,
Anyway,
really?
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's excellent.
I think it communicates just as much, and even just a little bit more, where I think like the scale and the scope was so big. Like in America,
Yeah.
it was nice to have like 3 people dance at a time, and like in the original, and this it's like streets of people, which is how it should end. Like the
That's
scope.
a good finale. Yeah.
But there was something about like you could see the smiles on people's faces, and it almost looked like I'm watching a play too. And that's what's fun, is like you're connected. It's almost like watching a live performance,
Yeah.
in the original, where you're seeing like the emotion and the feeling and like the sweat and the moves are like very focused and like really intentional. And in this one, of course, all that's similar, but it's so blockbustered. It didn't really communicate the same exact feel to me.
Yeah.
That's a long way
you
of saying
said, it's
that.
like more forced. Like they're like, oh, this is where we dance. But the other part it is kind of breaking the dancing. It's more natural flow with it.
And also, like back in the 60s, I feel like there was less to do, so like more people could dance. So like, all right, we just dance now, you know?
We're at a block party.
Exactly. Everyone bust out the moves.
People are on Twitter all day, so they had to go dancing.
Yeah, they had to do something. They danced or fought.
Should we have Phil do the summary?
Yeah, that's what we do. You have to summarize its entire, both the same story, basically.
Whoa.
But here's the thing: you have 60 seconds.
Okay, before we begin, I'm terrible at details.
It's okay.
That's why this is fun.
Yeah. I jump ahead.
Do what you can.
I'll try to remember that. Maybe I'll use the soundtrack to guide me, in my mind.
Let me know when you're ready, and I'll start the clock.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay, it starts with the whistle. I'm going to go faster than that. Okay, so the prologue starts on, and that's where we see the Jets and then the Sharks. They start fighting. They start fighting because it's a turf battle off the start. And then right after that, they got to get Tony. The Jets have to they're going to start a rumble. And the Jets have to get Tony. And Tony's been out of it because he beat the shit out of a guy. But then he agrees, and there's going to be a dance. And so all the Puerto Ricans and all the Jets, they go to the dance. And then that's where they arrange the rules of the rumble. And then after that, they go on their separate ways. And the cops are trying to figure out who's doing the rumble. And the Puerto Ricans are doing their thing. And then there gets to be the rumble. Before the rumble, Tony wants to stop the rumble because he loves Maria. Oh, I didn't even talk about Maria. Maria likes him and he likes him. And then Tony wants to marry her. And they're both on different sides of the gangs. And then Tony starts to try to stop the fight. And then both the leaders of the Sharks and Jets die. And then it escalates from there. And then Anita almost gets raped. And then Tony gets killed.
One.
Damn, I started way too long on the prologue.
You're focusing.
Bad prologue. Too much setup.
On the gang part.
Too much setup. That's a problem.
On the romantic part. But you did, it was good. It was good.
Man, that was terrible planning on my part.
You get at you. You gotta get ready. But
as soon as you said prologue, I knew it was over. I was like, you gotta cut to the chase.
All right, I gotta take notes on that.
Yeah. But cool. So we agree. It is. You said something where you compare the two of them. How do you feel about comparing them both?
I said the new West Side Story is a great movie. It's a very good movie, and the original is a work of art. They're both good. They're both great, but one's just in a different category, and it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the other one. I actually think the other one was really good, and they made some great adjustments and improvements.
So that says it best. Or, too good. One might be a little bit better. Masterpiece.
Yeah.
They're both romantic. They both,
They both were.
I mean, it's tragic ending, but everyone learns something at the end, right? Well, hey, here's a question: will Maria ever love again?
I don't know.
It could go two ways. She could be like a toxic bee for a really long time. Like, you aren't Tony. And it's like, all right.
Maybe they'll come up with a sequel.
Or like the next day she went to the grocery store and was like, oh my God.
Last night was crazy.
Yeah, she seems like she's just going to fall in love. And there'll be another one.
And then somehow she just leads these like string of events. What's that movie with the guy Chuck, Good Luck Chuck or something?
Yeah.
Where like
that.
Yeah, it's like that in reverse. Like everyone
Only
she dates dies.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
She moves to the east side, and it's the east side story. That's
and then a whole new set of problems.
9/11 happened. You're like, Maria.
Who lives in the east side? Dominicans or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Italian. Oh, dude, that'd be cool. It's an Italian.
Italians,
Fuck it, Maria.
There's two Marias now.
So many fucking Marias.
Everyone's Maria.
Who's fucking? I want Maria.
There's too many Tonys. What am I supposed to do? We're all Tonys.
Maria.
Yeah.
Yo, Peter.
It's just the Tonys and the Marias.
Yeah, that was how the game.
It's like Scandinavian Tony and then like Italian Tony.
Yeah. He's Tony. But, wow, you know what? We did pretty good today. We're not.
Good.
Graham would be proud. We usually go.
Graham would have loved this.
We usually go way off topic and don't even talk about the movie barely. So you brought out the best of the podcast,
Yeah,
Phil.
Graham would be so
Yeah,
proud. But
anyway, that's it, guys. So
yeah, we will see you in a couple of weeks, Rombros. We're doing The Fault in Our Stars.
yeah, so more on Soul or whatever that dude's name is.
Oh, he's in that too.
Yeah, that's his breakout role. That's
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
anyway, cool.
yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we got then. Cool. Yeah, yeah, it's a final thing. Final thing.